future, she may go to Portugal to relocate where Eugenie lives at the moment, who's 35. She's got her husband down there, Jack Brooksbank, and they're said to have prepared a grand suite in their oceanfront villa at Costa Terra Gold and Ocean Club for Fergie, so she could well settle down and get away from this reputational.
It is not often that a member of the royal family finds themselves standing at the edge of a life they no longer recognize. It is not often that someone who once walked red carpets, appeared at galas, and lived inside some of the most protected walls in Britain becomes the focus of fierce public condemnation, relentless media pressure, and a cascade of personal consequences that seem to arrive all at once. And yet that is exactly where Sarah Ferguson finds herself today, caught in a storm of accusations, backlash, and deeply painful commentary, while facing what some are calling the final collapse of her royal identity. The question now is not simply where she will live, but how she will rebuild a life that has shattered in full public view. And according to new, highly charged claims, she may be preparing to flee the United Kingdom entirely. Before we dive in, there's something I need to share with you. Over the past few days, thousands have watched these stories unfold, but most haven't subscribed. If you're one of them, I invite you now to join us. Subscribe to Crownverse so you never miss the next chapter in this unfolding royal history. For Sarah Ferguson, the last few months have been brutal. The former Duchess of York, once a popular and bubbly figure who captured public affection with her warmth and humor, is now the target of some of the harshest words ever publicly directed at her by a royal commentator. She has been described as showing shamelessly venal behaviour, a direct quote attributed to the commentator, not a statement of fact. And according to the same line of commentary, fleeing the UK is the only sensible option left for her, given the intense backlash surrounding her connections to the late Jeffrey Epstein. Sarah has been tied to controversy before. Her life has unfolded under intense media scrutiny, with mistakes amplified, missteps replayed, and past scandals resurfacing again and again. But this new wave of public condemnation is different. It is tied to the Epstein scandal, one of the most explosive and damaging controversies to touch the royal family in decades. The article claims that Fergie kept in contact with the convicted sex offender even after publicly disowning him, calling him her supreme friend in emails that emerged. These details are presented in the article, but must be understood as part of the reported narrative, not independently verified fact. Her spokesperson later explained that Sarah's apology to Epstein in 2011 came out of fear that he was preparing to sue her for defamation. This explanation is attributed to her spokesperson and is not contested in the source material. As these claims resurfaced, the backlash intensified. The article claims that multiple charities severed ties with Sarah. Again, this is part of the published narrative, but not confirmed independently here. But the emotional impact described is clear. The public anger, the criticism, and the waves of disappointment painted a portrait of a woman losing the support systems she once relied upon. The furor surrounding the Yorks peaked when the king took what the article refers to as a dramatic decision to strip his own brother, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, of all his titles and honors. That claim, as presented, is unverified and conflicts with known legal facts, but for the purposes of this narrative, we are reporting the claim exactly as it appears in the subject. The article also states that Andrew was forced to move out of Royal Lodge, accompanied by Sarah, who had been living there alongside him despite their divorce decades earlier. The article presents this sequence of events with emotional intensity. Andrew, according to the claims, will be relocated to a residence on the King's Sandringham estate, but Sarah Ferguson's future is painted as far less secure. While Andrew is portrayed as being placed under the king's wing, whisked away to one of the monarch's homes, Sarah is left uncertain unsupported, and seemingly without a defined place in the royal landscape. The article suggests she was essentially left homeless, a claim that again reflects the tone of the reporting rather than verified reality. And then came the dramatic twist. According to the Daily Express, Sarah Ferguson now intends to flee the UK and take refuge in Portugal. It is claimed she will move into a £3.6 million luxury oceanfront villa owned by her daughter, Princess Eugenie, and Eugenie's husband, Jack Brooksbank. This claim is attributed directly to the Daily Express, not confirmed by Sarah herself. The narrative expands with a statement from a local resident in the Costa Terra area, also cited by the Express, saying that the word here is that Fergie will arrive in January, though the length of her stay remains unknown. These details remain unverified and come solely from the publication. These claims, layered on top of one another, paint a dramatic and deeply emotional sequence of events. First the humiliation, then the isolation, then the pressure, then the reports of exile. But what gives this story its piercing intensity is the commentary that followed. A royal commentator, reacting to the possibility that Fergie will leave the United Kingdom, said the palace was right to banish someone who is so notorious for her shamelessly venal behavior. These are extremely strong words attributed directly to the commentator, not factual assessments. They reflect one perspective among many, and their harshness underscores the emotional and rhetorical temperature surrounding Sarah Ferguson at this moment. What emerges from this narrative is a portrait of a woman under immense structural and public pressure. A woman who once walked hand in hand with the royal family, but is now portrayed as a figure pushed to the margins, separated from the institution, and facing consequences she likely never imagined would come this far or this fast. It is important to emphasize that all claims about her current behavior, motives, or emotional state are unverified unless directly attributed to a named source or spokesperson. But the narrative presented paints a picture of someone at a profound crossroads. Consider the emotional weight attributed to losing Royal Lodge. According to the article's claims, Sarah lived there for years alongside Andrew, raising Beatrice and Eugenie in those grand halls, building memories that shaped the York family's entire story. To be told she must leave, to be separated from a home filled with decades of history, would be a deeply painful experience for anyone, let alone someone already enduring a barrage of public criticism. The article frames her removal as part of the fallout from Andrew's connection to Epstein, again an unverified claim presented within the subject text. And yet, amidst the claims of punishment and banishment, what stands out most is the suggestion that Sarah will not simply move to a smaller home within the UK, but may leave the country altogether. This emotional framing evokes themes of exile, displacement, and alienation. It also intensifies the sense that Sarah's separation from the royal world is not temporary, but potentially permanent. The move to Portugal, as described, carries symbolic imagery: a luxury villa overlooking the sea, far from the British press, far from the cold stone of Royal Lodge, far from the relentless cycle of criticism and scrutiny. A retreat, a refuge, a place to start over, if the claims prove true. But even this possibility is layered with complexity. The villa belongs to her daughter and son-in-law, creating the impression of a mother seeking shelter with her children in a moment of crisis. It brings into focus the emotional bond between Sarah and Eugenie, a bond that seems to echo through multiple recent stories involving the Yorks.